Well, this goes to show what I know, as I rhyme accidentally. I said in the last video I thought if it's no Giannis, no Trey, I'd give a better chance to the Hawks, and I guess it's 1-1 with the Stars being out. Giannis played for a bit the last game. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, the main things tonight for the Bucks, they were switching a lot on defense, and I think putting Portis out there might have been risky to some people. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to the conversation about it that much when it was announced, but he brought them a lot of energy, and he was able to switch on to perimeter players as Brook Lopez was. I mean, Lopez had a lot of possessions on like guards. Bobby Portis stripped Lou Williams on one play, and he got it on the other end. He got an easy 2 points. There was also times where it's like Chris Middleton switched on to John Collins or Capella or whatever, and the Hawks, especially in the first quarter, and this set the tone for the game, they were just overwhelmed with the Bucks' defensive energy. I mean, you could tell right from the jump they knew with this game, if they're going to win, it's going to be on that side of the floor. And this might have been the most that the Bucks ever switched defensively. I mean, it just seemed like every single screen it was a switch, no matter who was the guy, and it really did bother the Hawks, at least in that first quarter. I mean, maybe it wasn't as much as the game went along, and on offense, I mean, some of it was just turning the defense into offense, of course, but you also had Drew, who had a decent amount of pull-up jumpers in this, same thing with Chris Middleton, and Bobby Portis with his mid-range attempts that he loves to attempt, and a few of those went in, and just his general existence around the basket. But to me, the biggest one was Brook Lopez. I mean, Lopez, he had a reminder game, if you forgot about the years where he was averaging 20-something points a game for the Nets. I mean, it was in the post, it was offensive rebounds. They ran some stuff for him to where he could be kind of moving along the baseline and then get it real quick from a guard or whatever. And he had a few plays where he just bailed him out, where it was like a scoop shot from the free throw line or whatever. I mean, the Hawks had pretty much no answer for him. The craziest ones were where Brook was just barreling down the rim or down to the rim off of a dribble and just throwing it down on people because the middle of the floor was just a little open. And it was cool to see. I mean, it was cool to see the Suns make it more of an emphasis to get it to Ayton in the last game, and then a similar thing tonight. As far as what the Hawks could have done adjustments-wise, I mean, to be fair, I really think a lot of this was just their offense was overwhelmed by the Bucks' defense. But specifically on defense, I mean, I guess what I was saying before about bringing extra attention inside on Giannis, which I think they did do a bit of in Game 5, and it freaked out the Bucks a bit. I guess that just would have been the hope in this one. I mean, what else is it going to be if Brook Lopez is just dominating from around the basket? Now, even then, again, he did make some hook shots that I'm sure the Hawks will tell themselves, we could live with that, assuming we don't foul him. And maybe the Bucks just made too many of those for the Hawks to really have a chance tonight. If you were thinking that Cam Reddish was going to be the Chris Middleton lockdown guy based on the last game, that was not the case, of course, tonight. I mean, it really was just an amazing supporting cast type of performance from Milwaukee. Is there anything from this game that they can take and apply it moving forward? I mean, I think the big one would be Brook, because Drew and Middleton, those guys had a lot of the same shots that they usually get when Giannis is out there. So I think it really just falls back to Brook, where if a possession isn't really going anywhere, maybe they should think about Brook a little more often. I mean, especially in those times where their offense sometimes just looks kind of blah, where it's too much iso ball, there's not enough of the ball zipping around and all that. Maybe an extra post possession or two could be good for them. I mean, it's not like Brook never gets it in the post, but maybe just a couple more times could be good for him, just a little more variety and all that nice stuff. Now, we are going back to Atlanta for a Game 5, or Game 6, and I mean, it's still a matter of who's going to be out there. I mean, I think there's a better chance for Trey to be there than Giannis, and so you just think about the Trey Young pick and rolls, and I mean, should they have Brook play a little more aggressive defense besides just the classic step up and then drop a little bit? I mean, maybe not all the time, but perhaps occasionally to throw Trey off, because, I mean, you just looked at the mobility that Lopez had defensively in this game. Yeah, it's not against Trey, but they were still like really good possessions. It was one in the fourth quarter where he had to like close out to Bogdanovich or switch onto him, and he like did a good job of staying in front of him, Of course, you're not going to ask Brook Lopez to switch onto Trae all the time, but maybe it's just like hedging on the screen or something as opposed to just always doing your drop, even if it's a little more aggressive compared to game 1. So we'll see. The other thing is, of course, how can the Hawks be more equipped for the Bucks defense if they're going to be switching and if they're going to bring that much intensity again? I mean, maybe some more off-ball movement. You can try more down screens with Bogdanovich and Herter. Lou Will as well. He likes that type of stuff. They do enjoy going to their Gallo mismatches thing. Usually it ends up on Drew, and I mean, if Gallo's taking a turnaround jumper and it's a good contest and there's no foul, the Bucks will probably feel fine about it. But you just might have to lean more into that, like Gallo mismatches. Can you get something for John Collins besides just him setting screens? I mean, John Collins has a post game as well. I guess that's what it would be. You know, you pick who on this Bucks team to go at. Well, I think this is part of the reason why Budenholzer went with Bobby Portis. It makes it tougher. I mean, if he would have gone with like Connaughton or Bryn Forbes, that could have been a mismatch guy. But by going to Portis, the weakest guy out there most of the time was Drew, and, well, if that's your one guy you're going to attack, I don't think you're going to have a super lot of success. So the point of all that, again, is off-ball screens, get the shooters moving, and if you get a little more fortunate with some of your shots dropping, a few of theirs not, throwing more attention to Brook Lopez if there's going to be no Giannis again, which there probably will not be, then perhaps we can be going back to a Game 7 in Milwaukee. The other idea is would the Hawks double. Now, I know there was at least one double in the fourth quarter that I remember. It was kind of too little too late at that point. Maybe that's the next step. Now, if you're going to do that, you have to be comfortable with leaving someone open, and I guess PJ Tucker would be the obvious guy. And you would probably still bank on Bobby Portis beating you again, even if he did do that in this game. They did try some Chris Dunn tonight, I think, to hopefully get a little more defense, and well, he only played 7 minutes, so there you go. Cam Reddish could be a similar thing. I mean, if Trae Young's not going to be out there, then they're going to have to reach for a whole lot of stuff. If Trae is out there, then I guess the main conversation just comes back to the Bucks pick-and-roll defense, because that switching stuff, it's not going to work on Trae the same way, you know, even if I think you can still try some more aggressive pick-and-roll defense occasionally on the guy. So yeah, man, we'll see for Game 6 whether we're going to have Bucks Suns or if it's going to come down to one game. If I had to make a prediction after being wrong about the Hawks being better than the Bucks if both stars are out, maybe I'm just prisoner of the moment, but I feel like the Bucks can put this sort of performance together again and win in Game 6. I'm completely flipping, which means the Hawks will win Game 6. And they'll probably start the game like 15-3 or something. So apologies to Bucks fans, but we're going back to Milwaukee for a Game 7. But my official pick is the Bucks.